Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Dumela, and welcome to yet another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. As you are aware by now, we bring you life-changing, impactful business information. We bring you stars, we bring you difference makers, we bring you captains of industry who are in a position to energize, enthuse, and inspire you. And this time around, I have Nomsa Makgabenyana. But before I formally bring her in, can I just ask you that favor? Please subscribe. We need to grow our numbers, guys. We need your support. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button. Welcome, Nomsa Makgabenyana.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's a bit embarrassing to admit that we did a bit of a boo-boo with the previous interview, but that's the truth, that we interviewed you before, but for some reason things did not go, technology did not work out nicely.
It's fine. I work in tech. One day you're up, the next day you're down, so I completely understand, and I'm happy to be here.
All right. Yes. Would you care to tell the viewers who you are and share a little bit about your background?
Yeah. I am Nomsa Makgabenyana. I'm daughter of Patrick Sensei Makgabenyana and Jennifer Makgabenyana. She's a very beautiful woman. That's my mom, and those are my parents. I am somewhere in the 20s in terms of age. I won't reveal the actual number, but somewhere in the 20s. I'm young, vibrant, energetic, and I run Botswana's AI world, basically, in the form of Sariti Insights, which is an AI machine learning company, and we're devoted to building solutions, AI solutions for our country, for businesses in our country, and to do AI work that matters, and to advance, the knowledge of what AI is and what it's here to do for us as a country, as an economy. And I'm very happy to be a part of the motion that I'm seeing right now in the country with AI and with technology.
Wow.
That's me.
Academically,
high school, Lekha Academy, high school for A-levels, Maruapula, and then straight to UCT, where I got 2 degrees from there. And then now, which was different.
What are those degrees?
Those degrees, I always have to think about it because I actually don't use my degrees. I can't even tell you where they are. So the first one was in public policy admin, philosophy, and economic history. The second one was in economic history, development economics, and a bit of international strategic business. So I just played around with what was in front of me. Then I also studied data analytics, and I think when this comes out, I will be a master's at the University of London doing MSc in business and innovation.
Wow.
So when it airs, not now, when it airs.
Well, it's going to air in a few weeks.
Then I'll be an MSc candidate from the University of London. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is it about Sariti Insights? I'm curious about the name Sariti Insights.
So the name Sariti, to tell you the truth, Mr. Mogobe, and a very embarrassing fact, I'm challenged Setswanakli, right?
Setswanakli.
Yes, I thought
that's the first time I've heard that word.
I'm very challenged Setswanakli, which is very different from my co-founder, Mr. Kagisompa. He speaks Setswana, man, it slides out of his mouth, and I'm just like, that is so beautiful. He can explain AI and technology, in Setswana. He can do that very, very well. So the name Sariti, when I registered the company, was a mistake. I just thought it meant something else. Only to learn that it's dignity, and it just became what it is. But it wasn't the initial. There was no heartfelt intention of dignity inside. So I thought it meant something completely different, and also just it sounded really good. So that's what it is, and we started the the vision of it in late 2018, but only in 2019 could we really start, getting the name unknown out there in terms of what we do and the solutions that we're willing to build. So that's the trajectory there. The name was a complete boo-boo, just like you said. It was a complete boo-boo, but it works. It works for us.
Okay. Seipone AI. Yeah.
Yes.
Seipone means mirror.
Seipone means mirror. Yes, that one I know. That one I know for sure. And that one had a lot of intention. When our team and I sat together, this was 2021, early 2021, and we had built this proof of concept that we weren't really sure we're going to be able to commercialize, or we had confidence and faith that this product is going to work, and we named it Seipone. Seipone at the end of the day, Seipone AI at the end of the day is a MarTech, which means marketing technology, that is enabled with artificial intelligence, and it's built so that brands in Africa, or maybe out of Africa if there's a need, brands in Africa can comprehend what our consumers or their consumers are saying in the language that they speak. So if you're the head of marketing and Omotswana, the mirror shows you who you are, but also shows you your consumers, right? Which are authentic Botswana and people who express themselves in whatever diddly way that they see fit. And I always draw an example. I was at the BTC conference, yes, the BTC Digital Shift yesterday, and I introduced a word. So every time I demo Seipone AI, I introduce a word that I throw to the crowd and to my audience and say, what does this word mean, right? Because it's this new lingo that our youth and our generation comes up with all the time. And I ask them, what does this mean? And most of the time they get it wrong. But then it always goes back to say, what I did yesterday was I asked my audience, what does Hokwakwaza mean? So if someone says Hokwakwaza, right? So if I said, hey, black restaurant, yeah, Kwakwaza, what would that mean, right?
What language is that?
It's I don't know if it is a language. It's just a word that, young people would use on social media, right? So if you have insights, if you
like colloquialism.
Yes. So if you have you're the head of digital social media marketing and they have to go through all of the tweets and Facebook posts about black, and you see that thing that says black yakwakwaza, what are you going to do about it? Because you don't know what it means, right? But we have an AI that says languages and how young people, old people talk on social media, because of the way Africans are. We mix with English, we mix with Afrikaans, you know what I mean? We talk about brands and our experiences with services and products in so many different ways. So we've built an AI that says no matter how people talk, the language, the linguistic style, and how it changes over time, because AI gets smarter with time. The more data you feed it, the smarter it gets. No matter how those sentiments are expressed, those public opinions are expressed, there's an AI that's going to be able to comprehend it, contextualize it, and give you the data in a way that you can understand it, so you don't have to go and research Kwakwaza in the streets of Old Naledi or wherever.
Suppose I come straight from the cattle post or, in some rural area, and I ask you, what is AI? How would you explain it in simplistic terms?
I think we're going to need to call my co-founder. AI, it's so funny, Mr. Mogobe. To my family back home in the village, like you're saying, I'm in IT. So I don't even have the language to express it sometimes. But if I was to try, right? If I was to try, AI is a discipline or an area of practice that uses technology, maranyane, I know that one, maranyane, and is heavily dependent on historical data and real-time data to be able to tell a story.
Is it like machine learning?
It is. Machine learning is a subset of AI. So AI is this big house, and it's got different rooms, right? So there's robotics, there's machine learning, and there's deep learning, and there's other things that are involved in the umbrella of AI. So AI is basically the big roundabout term, but there's other things in there like machine learning that make that up. So the data is used to tell a particular story. The story can be a story about the future. The story can be a story about telling us what we need to do to get a certain outcome. So that's prescriptive. The one about the future is predictive. What action we should take next to get a particular outcome is prescriptive. There's a combination of those. And there's also just what is called counterfactual. We can map out a counterfactual reality. So this has been used in when people are trying to measure how wealthy Africa would have been without slavery, or what would have been the trajectory of this continent without European,
Without
colonialism. We use AI to map out that counterfactual reality with the data that we have about how Africa was pre that context, and all of the resources that were taken out, how many people, how, so that's also an involvement of AI. So AI is basically here, the one that we use is here to help us and our companies, our clients, to tell a story about the future, how things are, how things should be, or what's going to happen in the future, what could have happened.
How has it been used traditionally in Botswana? Or before Seipone AI came into the picture?
Yeah, so traditionally, from our perspective, I can only speak from our perspective, adoption of AI has been very slow. Our government is only starting to catch up now. But in terms of private sector, it's really the financial services from our side in terms of clientele that have been the ones who have more Vavavoom, are more eager to see machine learning and AI, come into their operations, especially with things like sales, predicting, which customer is likely to default on their loans, predicting aspects of, especially in the corporate banks. So one of our award-winning solutions was a solution that was able to predict for a commercial bank which client is likely to default. More than that, it was also going to predict which products in the bank's portfolio, in the commercial bank's portfolio, one company is likely to buy next. So what you do is then, instead of taking all of these products, hey, we'll give you a loan of this, a facility of this much, instead of doing all of that and not knowing if there's going to be an outcome desirable, you say, no, my data is showing me, the AI is showing me that this construction company is likely to take this facility if we structure it like this, and then, we see then if it's predicting accurately or not.
Do you have to be a geek to get into AI? Do you really have to be nerdy, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think for every business, especially...
Because you don't look nerdy at all.
I'm not. I like to teach myself things, and I like to understand things. And if I don't understand things, I don't dabble in them, right? But what's important is also to know that we have been very intentional at Sariti Insights to set up our team as a team. And what I mean by that is, I don't build models. I don't clean data on a day-to-day basis. Are there people that do that within the team? Yes, but there's also people who are involved with customers. There's also people who are front-facing and making sure that we educate our leads and our population at large about what AI is, which is part of what we're really intentional on doing. So I'm not a nerd. I have a heart for teaching and for explaining things and walking people through the journey of technology. I understand this part of tech. I don't understand Web3. I don't understand blockchain. I don't understand NFTs.
And you have to really go into the weeds for that one.
Yeah, so I don't pretend to be a tech nerd. I'm not. The other day, not very long ago, this year actually, I learned that you could get someone's WhatsApp contact through WhatsApp, like scanning a QR code. I don't know those things. But what I do know, I know very well. I don't think I'm a nerd. I think I've been blessed with the skills and the smarts to run a company and to understand what's going on. Every other thing I leave to my co-founder. He's the nerd.
Which is a good segue into my next point of how it all started. What triggered the interest for you to get into AI enough to decide that this is my calling?
Yeah. So in varsity, I was hoping and praying to Hail Mary that I would find a job with one of the consulting firms, the big three, I won't say their names, but everybody knows them, because one of them had a really good digital practice. And part of the work that they did in digital involves AI and building AI labs. And it didn't work out for me because I'm not South African, and finding work in South Africa when you're not South African is so difficult. It's so difficult. I could have done that by way of my father, but he passed away just as we were in the process, right? So
I knew him well.
Yes. So
may his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace. I miss him so much, but he's here with us. So it didn't work out that I was going to work for that digital practice. I came back home, had a little bit of a stint with another company, and I was pitching the life out of big data and AI, okay? I was asking, begging, and pleading. And basically the response that I got is, just because you think you're from UCT, you're gonna come here and change the company. We don't do that here. Said, okay, all right, gotta go. I was like, this is my time to go. If I don't do this now, I'm gonna be stuck with loans and mortgages and, God knows what, and I won't have the liberty. By the way, I was young. I was maybe 23. Yeah, so I had the liberty, I thought at the time, to just make my way out and figure out my life in terms of what it is that I want to do and achieve, because I knew and I understood that there's a place for AI in Botswana. It's just that I think I'm 2 steps ahead. I just needed companies and, organizations to take one more step and would be in sync. So that's what happened. I registered it, but I just kept it there. And then in late 2018, I already knew my co-founder from social media, and I knew what he was studying, and he was in Cape Town advancing his studies. So I sent him.
What does he study?
He's a data scientist, machine learning, and AI expert. So he's the nerd. So he's the one who does all of the, builds the solutions and, and everything like that. So I knew what he was studying. So I hit him up just to ask for help with something. And he says, give me 50% and I'll come back home. And I was like, I don't know if
50% of your company.
Of our company, and we'd be co-founders, and I was like, I don't know if you're being serious, but we'll talk when you're here. So we came back home. He says, no, I'm being very serious. And we've been on this journey ever since. So that's really where it came. I knew, and I had a feeling in my spirit that there was something that I needed to do in the big data and AI space in Botswana, and I just needed the right person. And I've been blessed to experience him and have a working relationship with him and build a company. Yeah.
To what extent do you need specialized expertise in this field? By that I mean people like designers and what else is there in your field? Coders and so on and so forth.
Yeah. That only came in really after COVID, right? So pre-COVID, my job was to walk into the companies with the audacity and the cojones. I've walked into a lot of CEOs' offices, and my mom's always like, don't do that. You can't just walk into people. And I'm like, yes, I am. I need something from there. Walk into CEOs' offices.
It works for you.
It works for me.
And I encourage others to try.
Yeah, it works for me. And it's gotten me a really robust network as well, and I think it says something to the person on the other side, like this person didn't come here asking for a job.
The receptionist will be saying, wait, you walk right
yes
through.
I'm like, no, I have it. Sometimes I even say I have an appointment. No, I have an appointment, but there's no appointment. But I don't do that anymore. That was early days. Like I'm saying, when
there's
we just started.
There's a time when you need to do that.
Yes, there's a time when I needed to do that, and I was very unapologetic about it. But at the time, it was me and my co-founder, and we were a 2-man operation, and we'd pitch solutions, proof of concept them. Either they buy them or they don't, and we move on, right? So at the time, it was working. It was only at the genesis, really, of Seipone AI, that's when we had to expand the team, because we're not developers. I can code and understand code, but we're not developers, my co-founder and I. He's heavy data scientist and AI expertise.
Developers would be software engineers.
Software engineers, right? So, and then UX designers. There was no UX designer that we could find, and we've actually trained our own UX designer, right? Back in DevOps, which is development operations put into one. As a developer, and you're thinking about operations as well. We recently hired an ML ops, machine learning operations. So we're also very happy and fortunate to be in a position where we're introducing these roles to the country. So it's a very exciting time. But the need for like a team, the way that we are, we have a staff complement of 7, excluding myself, and we're really excited to build that team and build, people. There's another role that we have called data engagement, which just means that person eats, drinks, sleeps data. That's their job, So that's when we started. Seipone AI is what ushered us into having to grow and expand the team.
Most funders will ask you about proof of concept, they'll ask you traction and stuff like that. And suppose as a funder, out there, potential funder listening to this interview, what would you say is a proof of concept for your company? And is there any traction?
So our proof of concept, we started developing it in 2020. We're very, very fortunate that amidst the COVID crisis, we got funding from Japan to build the proof of concept, basically, what would validate if this product is buildable. They were very happy with what we built, and we were able to then cross over into now having to get the product into market, which is what we're doing now. It's been we launched in April 2022, so April is when we launched the product, and we invited marketers, heads of marketing, heads of product, advertising agencies to the launch, and it went really well. And we hit a very rough patch, while launching and making sure that the platform itself can handle the traffic, of people on free trial. And, the technology part was very, very hard. Also because we're hinged to upstream providers, so Google Cloud, Twitter, Facebook, which is where we get the data. So it's been very, very hard. So traction was very, very slow. Right now, it's much better. It's much better. Our interest and who's under our wing most of the time is your telcos, because they need to know as quickly and as instantly as possible what's happening on their ground.
So those are your main clients?
Telcos, the banks as well. The banks are very, very much invested in knowing what's happening on the ground, also in terms of their consumers. We are hoping to venture into food and beverage, hoping that institutions that produce, food and beverage would be part of our suite. But yeah, for now, the telcos are really, really appreciative of service like this.
Is this really the service at the heart of it is what, data management or data arrangement?
The heart of it is operationalizing data, right, for strategy. So streaming and sourcing the data that's coming from the ground. In the ground, I mean social media, right? Tweets, Facebook posts, all of that. Getting that data, processing that data through the AI in a way that is efficient for a marketing team, a product development team, right, as quickly as possible, as is possible. And then that information that's presented on a dashboard is then now valuable data that can inform our remedial actions. So the PR company, the ad agency, the head of marketing, then they can sit down and say, okay, we're seeing that at 7 p.m. something really bad happened with our product, and the main issues was the price is too high, the network was down, kwakwaza, whatever languages that have been said and used to express what the problem is, they're able to have that and diagnose, their problems much quicker than if they didn't have Seipone AI. Yeah.
Does every company need AI in some form? Or is it a particular category of companies?
Yeah, so every company needs to be digitizing, right? Digitizing doesn't equal AI. I'll give you an example with SIPA, right? SIPA made the company registration process digitized. They digitized it. But it doesn't mean there was AI, right? They could now go the further step and be able to predict, okay, for someone is registering this company, this is likely to be their annual income, and, they could go that direction. At this stage, I want to say, yes, you do need AI, but AI is usually backed up by a very robust and thick backbone of digital infrastructure, right? That comes down to computers, computers that are apt to take that in. That comes down to cloud servers. That comes down to also data warehousing. Those are the things on the backbone of AI. So if those are not in the right position in terms of your data silos, sometimes we work with companies where we ask them, where's this data? And they're like, we don't know where it is.
So who has to find it?
Who's going to find it, right? And then another instance that we encountered recently, one of our clients had data, but the data was sitting in South Africa.
And they're based in Botswana.
And they're based in Botswana. Why is your data so far away? How do you access it? They don't know, But we eventually got around it. So AI is pivotal. Any company that's now saying, we'll catch up with AI in 10 years, will have to catch up with the 5 years that they've already missed and the 5 that are already coming, right? So you need every company that wants to be efficient and be ahead of the curve does need AI. But AI has to have a support structure in terms of, like I'm saying, data infrastructure, data warehousing, cloud services, data streaming. How do we move the data from one place to another? Are we going to use a memory stick? It doesn't work like that anymore. So my answer is yes, but yes with conditions. Terms and conditions apply.
T's and C's.
Yes.
Can you give examples without mentioning names of where you impacted a company or an entity where the situation was X before your arrival and then you made it Y?
Yeah. Without mentioning names. Okay. It's a financial services. I won't say banking or insurance. Financial services. And when we walked in, the data was all over the place, right? Luckily, we bill by the hour. So if we have to sort out that mess, it's not like we're losing much on it, but we also aim to deliver value. So it was issues of data and what the data was looking like. And also, I think one of our impacts in that company was that because of us, they had to hire data scientists. They've never had that role in that company, but beyond us giving you the solution, our aim as a company is never to present a solution and then be like, all right, cool, you guys are good, you'll figure that out. We need some institutional memory about what it is Sariti Insights was building. These are the results, this is how it works, etc., etc. So the need there was an obvious, need for human capital and data scientists. We also do take it up.
What does a data scientist do? Exactly.
So a data scientist, it varies, but is mainly a custodian of the data, right? Things like managing the data, warehousing the data.
It's not necessarily a scientist, as in a trained scientist.
No, they're scientists in data. They can build models, but for today's world, it's a little bit. You need a little bit more than just being a data scientist to build models that would work for a big bank. You know what I mean? Which is where we come in. But we come in from an aspect of partnership to say we're not just here, like I'm saying, to build something and then walk away. We want your team, your sales team. If we're building something for the sales team, if we're building something for risk in terms of they want to be able to predict fraud when the next fraudulent transaction is going to happen. We do those use cases. We want the whole fraud team to be on track also, to understand the change that's going to happen or come with AI. So it really comes down to those things in terms of impact, seeing an organization hire their first batch of data scientists, seeing an organization.
So in the example you're giving, after the scientist came into the picture, what was the change? What was the outcome?
Well, the outcome is now that there's now a bridge between AI, which is coming from Sariti Insights, and AI that's pouring into the organization, right? There's someone or a team that's able to understand this looks like this because of this. The predictive outcomes are like this because of whatever inputs, The data that was processed was data from here, and this is how it impacts our final result or our final product. So that it creates a smoother process. When it's just a third party coming in, a contractor like Sariti Insights, we come and we don't know who to talk to. Next week, this one's gone for leave for 6 weeks. But when there's a team of data scientists, they're the custodians of these kinds of projects and the solutions and how they then will flow into the rest of the company. So that's the real impact of it. There needs to be a steady flow, not working with the CEO who's got so many things to do. They don't even understand what we're building. They just want to see it on the ground. How do we apply this thing as quickly as possible? But the data scientist is here to say, our contractor is having a roadblock because we don't have this data. Now it makes sense, also the trust issue. Yeah, so it's really small incremental things. The solutions, yes, are good, but we're not in charge of the application. Unfortunately, we don't control the extent to which you apply the solutions that we build, but we do our best to train and to do capacity building of those who will be applying it. Like I'm saying, we'll sit down with the sales team, we'll sit down with the risk and compliance, we'll sit down with, in telco, I think it's called, I can't remember.
You mean the
assurance?
Yeah.
Assurance team to make sure that they understand that these predictive insights look like this because this data and this is how you apply it, and then we do that capacity building very thoroughly. So yeah, I think for me is being able to see now companies adjust to the fact that AI is coming in and we need people who will manage AI within our business. Yeah.
All right. Current challenges in terms of even in the circumstances of COVID, and what challenges are you experiencing?
COVID for us was the savior that we needed. Remember, we've been knocking on doors since 2019, right? And everybody was like, it was like a light conversation, like, oh, these kids, all right, cute. That was the kind of response we were getting. COVID-19, everybody's at home, operations are messed up, and everyone's like, we need to automate, we need to trigger systems that will predict things. And that's really when, doors started opening up for us. Also with Seipone AI was actually a direct result of COVID-19. So when we built Seipone AI, when we conceptualized Seipone AI, it was meant to pick up, those sentiments of Botswana on the ground regarding COVID-19, particularly to pick up misinformation and disinformation and trigger the task force to say, people are saying COVID-19 comes from 5G. Can our campaigns speak to that? Instead of creating a campaign that talks about something else, that's not the problem on the ground. On the ground is that
there was a time when people were petrified of 5G.
Yes, of 5G
Seems to have come down.
Yeah, then that was misinformation. Then came the vaccines. There's metal inside, there's something flowing inside of you, there's coins that are sticking on you. I haven't tried the coin thing, by the way. I need to do it when I get home.
My son did. He says it doesn't stick.
It doesn't stick.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick. Yeah, so that's COVID-19 is what birthed Seipone AI. So Seipone AI, as a team, obviously, we knew that, COVID-19 is not going to be here forever, right? So in my head as a business person, it was up to me to actually figure out how do we commercialize this thing beyond this virus. And that's what birthed Seipone AI. So now we do it for brands, for companies, service providers who want to know what their consumer on the ground is saying, disregarding language, disregarding, linguistic styles.
Did you actually work with the task force, and if so, how?
We didn't work with a task force. We worked with JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency. That's who we worked with. The thing with working with governments is
hectic.
You
find a word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't really take it there. And by the time we had, like I'm saying, ready to take to market in April, COVID was the least of our worries, but now luckily it was also at the same time that commercial, the commercial world was also starting to say
what specific product or idea or service, if you can simplify it for the viewer, are you offering?
So it's two fronts, right? Sariti Insight's traditional operations is building solutions. We're basically a AI consulting company, right? We build solutions from the ground up. Our niche and what our differentiation was always that we're not going to adopt or buy a solution from India and come and plug it in your bank and say, pay us 3.2 million, we're out. You know what I mean? Which is what's been happening. And then what happens after that is change management doesn't adopt those solutions. Our infrastructure is just like, I don't know they can't run those solutions because it's not built for that company. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's not built for that company. When you ask the head of IT, please give me data so I can plug it into this Indian AI thing. They're like, I don't know what that is. No one's walking them through that conversation. Then there's a lot of resistance, which means we're achieving nothing, but we've paid 2.3 million as a company to get this AI. So we come in and we say, we're going to go through a journey of discovery with you. And our discovery process involves who are we building the solution for? We're building it for sales. Okay, sharp. Who's the sales team? The sales team is this person and this person. Let's go to them. What's your problem? And then sometimes you also find that what the sales people are saying is their problem, what the CEO says is their problem, is two different things. So there's that. So we go through that journey. We say, Mr. CEO, thank you so much. Have a seat. We're going to get back to you. We diagnose the problem with sales team or with risk or with assurance. We diagnose the problem. And then we say, where's your data? Right? We have to figure out if there's data. They say, no, data's here, it's looking like this. Okay, do we need to enrich that data? Then we go through a process of data exploration. We say, okay, sales team, hold on, we'll come back, let's look at this data. We chew that data, we listen. It's a rigorous process. And then from there, we see if the solution that they're looking for is feasible. If it's not feasible, we write a report and we say, based on the data that you have and your budget in terms of are we able to enrich this data or able to buy data from someone else, it's not going to work. Let's move on to the next solution. Mr. CEO, what's your second solution? Bring it back up. Number two, we go through the process again. After data exploration, proof of concept or feasibility study, we can see that this solution will work. Then we say, we'll scale it up. We'll scale it up, give us more data. Because remember, the first part is just with a sample piece of data. Then we say, give us more data. and we scale it up. We present it back to the sales team who has the actual problem, and then we say to Mr. CEO, do you see that this is going to impact your sales team like this, right? They approve, okay, we're sharp, good, let's continue to develop it and train it with a little bit more data, and for that, we're really just trying to get the accuracy level to a very good point, right? Once we do that, everything checks out, we show them the final result. Now we train the sales team. Now, this is how the solution works. When it predicts this, it means it's looked at this, and this. So the person who's going to buy your next product is going to be this person or this group of people, and you should move like this, right? After that, we say we give them a 30-day period to say whatever happens, we're at your call, right? And if your team needs us, we're at your call. And then we see the adoption of AI. That's the adoption process of AI, not plug and play. And that's what we don't do, right? So we go through that process with our clients.
You handhold the client.
Yes, until they understand what has just happened, right? So, and then if they want to update, maybe they have new data that's come in, then we go through that process again to say, okay, can we see the new data? Let's plug it into what we had built. To see if it still works, is it still returning value. So that's the first part of our business. The second part of our business is Seipone AI. Next year, there'll be two different things. We're separating them legally. Seipone AI is built for, like I'm saying, brands, African brands, brand builders, product developers, people in charge of service who want to know what people are saying about their products in the true and most accurate form. Now, MarTechs and media listening tools have existed for all of time, right? They've existed. However, the difference is that none of them have cared to build a solution that understands Tsotsitao, that has built to understand Segalaga, because that's not of any value to them, right? But a study that was done of 1,988 users of social media in South Africa showed that 78 people communicate on social media in the vernacular language.
78%.
So now, where's that 78% of data, and how much is it impacting my product or my service, but I'm missing out on it because a MarTech from America just doesn't want to build me a solution that takes care of that language barrier. So that's what Seipone is. So those are the two distinct parts of our businesses. For now, we're focused a lot since launching on Seipone AI because it's very scalable, right? Seipone AI is very scalable, and we want to see it scale across the continent.
Typically, I mean, hardware is also important when you do an intervention in a company. Typically, what sort of hardware would be ideal for an average size company for you to be able to do the work?
It depends. It depends. I'm not a hardware person, but it really isn't as complicated as you think, because what we have is cloud, right? So we do things on the cloud. We build our models using cloud service. So we don't put it in a computer. It runs on the cloud. So I'm hesitant to say you need to go and invest in big Mac computers.
But certainly, iPhones and tablets would not do the job.
With a tablet, you can get your visualizations. With your phone, you can get your visualizations. Your visualization is the front interface that shows you the results, right? So we're not going to show you data. What is that going to do for you? Because you're a salesperson. You don't need to see that. But if we're going to connect your predictive engine for the sales team, let's just use that example still, to a interface called Tableau or Power BI, they can see the interface on their phone, just on their drive, just before their drive coming to work, and be like, okay, today I need to focus on these clients. This is what the machine learning is telling me my focus needs to be. So no, it doesn't need,
so
the
gone are
world
the
of
days when you needed servers and big machines.
It's all in the cloud. It's all in the cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you do have to set it up for the client.
Yes, we do. It's not our primary role. It's not our primary job. We do and we can. And we always advise cloud, because it means that if you as the CEO and you care about that stuff, go to Shakashuk. You can still use it if there's internet there.
Let's talk about successes, the ones about which you are most proud. Can you share some of them?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm very proud of the launch that we pulled off for our product, Seipone AI.
When was this?
This is April, 5th April 2022. The country, and by country I just mean media, as a vessel to the country. The country has really received us well, and what we've built, and have understood what we've built. And I really am proud of my team also for, rallying behind the pressure of rolling out a SaaS in the time that we did. So that's one. Number two, I'm very proud of how I've been able to penetrate the corporates of this country. With Seipone AI alone, again, only launched in April, but, you walk in a mall and someone says, don't you work at Seipone AI? And I'm like, yes, I do. And they're like, oh, no, we're having a meeting about you last week. We'll actually be in contact next week, It just feels so good. And it feels good for my team as well, for my employees, because they're young people, and they never thought in their wildest dreams they'd build technology that gets to scale, that gets to be recognized by media. They thought, I'm just going to end up in corporate, writing code for, whatever, God knows what. So I'm very proud, and I'm very proud to see them as well. I think more than anything, lastly, I think it counts that I'm very proud of my team. That's very obvious. But I'm also proud that we just got accepted into the first CC Hub Accelerator in Botswana. So CC Hub is a Nigerian incubator or accelerator for tech startups only. They recently came to Botswana. They put out an application. There was many applications from startups, but only 2 made it, and we are one of them.
Congratulations.
Along with Scoot Logistics. Samson, I don't know if you've had him on.
We may.
Yeah, I think you've had him on. So we're the only 2 tech startups that have made it on, and I'm very, very proud of that. We're being incubated or accelerated by Africa's best. The Nigerian startup ecosystem is out of this world. That in South Africa's and Kenya's out of this world. So I'm very happy to have our team be a part of that and to see where it's going to go.
How scalable is it? And again, tell me this in the context of your growth plans. How scalable is the business?
Yeah, so Seipone AI, by its nature, is a SaaS, which means software as a service. And then also, like I'm saying, it's hosted on the cloud, right? So there's no installation, there's no need to move it around, etc. And then also it's subscription-based, so which means Mogobe can, Incorporated can choose that we need the service for 3 months, and after that we're done. Or they can say we need it for 2 years to see how it's going to work with our other MarTech stack, right? So the SaaS model is so profitable. One, it's one of the most profitable models in tech. And then also, we intend to leverage that SaaS model to move Seipone AI to other regions in Africa, because their languages also matter to their, people who are selling them products, services. So those brands as well in Africa need to know what consumers in East Africa and Swahili and other languages are saying about their brand, and as close to real time as possible. The same thing that Seipone does for Botswana. So we've already done our research and our mini proof of concept for those other regions. South Africa is probably going to be our next market. We need to be very early in South Africa because, things move very fast in South Africa. If you're not in now, you might be out tomorrow. And then also West Africa. I was in West Africa early this year, just before launch, or was it just after? One of the two. Just to see what the market looks like, what the languages look out like there. If we're to license it, should we license it into who? So I had a couple of meetings there. So we are looking at Africa as a whole. We've got a plan in terms of how we're going to build the proof of concepts in terms of language, where the data is going to be coming from, the labeling of the data, the processing of the data. So Africa is going to have Seipone AI, maybe in different names in the regions, just for relatability. But Seipone AI is going to be a MarTech for African brands all over Africa.
Wow, it sounds like an exciting future.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How do you take a language and convert it into a machine recognizable form of communication?
Yeah.
Call me a bit old-fashioned. How do you, for instance, get Tsotsitala, Kalanga, Swahili, and then simplify it and get a machine to interpret and understand it?
Yeah. So AI, in its entirety, is very dependent on human beings, which is why it's not replacing human beings, right? So if your viewers do think that it's not replacing human beings, and it won't be for a very long time, for a very, very long time. So the process works in that the way we take the data from social media, right, from our upstream providers, Twitter, Facebook, and it goes through 5 people in our organization who are going to label it and tell it what it means, right? And then we feed that into the machine. And then the machine goes, okay, I think I get it. Okay, just like a child learning something. Okay, I think I get it. And the reason why I say a child, or use the example of a child, is because when we started developing Seipone AI, the accuracy was only at like 45%. Right, obviously that's not ready for launch. This is 2020, right? And you keep feeding it more data. You keep feeding it more data because the languages, like I'm saying, in the streets are always changing. Tomorrow there'll be a new term, you know? You feed it more data, even the new one. And then you say, when it says this, it means, do you get it? Then it goes, yeah, I think I get it, right? Look at it as a child. Okay, I think I get it.
It talks back at you.
Yeah, I think by telling you the accuracy. It says, I'm only at 60% today, much better, but it's not there yet. Okay, feed it more data. More data, more data.
By data, you mean more communication or conversations?
Not conversations. So if it's a chatbot, yes, more conversations, right? But this isn't a chatbot. This is a... Again, I'm going to be dribbled by his language. This is it's a human being in a computer, right? That's just going to contextualize for marketers what people are saying. So it's not a back and forth conversation. It's going to just give you context and say your brand health is looking like this based on all of what people have been saying in the past 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, or 90 days, right? So you feed it more data in terms of the data is contextualized sentences, contextualized tweets, contextualized Facebook posts. You give it context. So Seipone doesn't interpret. And let me tell you why. The danger in interpretation is that look at the word noka and noga.
Spelled the same way in 2 different meanings.
Exactly. But AI, if you use context...
One is a river.
Yes.
And the other one is a waste.
Exactly.
Someone's waste.
Exactly. Madi and madi.
Blood and cash.
And cash, right? So you can't teach AI to translate because those words are the same. Obviously things like Google Translate, which was actually Google acquired that from another company. They have quite mastered, you know, the translation thing. But Seipone AI doesn't translate. Seipone AI puts into context. Ke batla madi cannot possibly mean, if you're talking about a normal conversation, cannot possibly mean I want blood unless you're a very sick person,
yeah.
you know. So context there says I want money. So it learns context and language in context. It doesn't translate. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does so far. How do you then translate all this to Zaga? I mean, I'm always being asked. You forgot to ask your guests how they make money and how money comes into this. Is there Zaka in this thing?
Yeah.
And if so, how does it come about?
The Zaka in our traditional operations is that we bill per hour. So if your data is a mess and it takes us 300 hours to clean that data for you so we can build a solution, every hour is being accounted for, right? So yes, there's money in that. I won't say what our
hourly rate is.
Yeah, it's not like lawyers. it's not in the public domain, right? It's not in the public domain, but and it's gone up since we started. So you know, it's healthy. It's a healthy amount of money. And then with Seipone AI, like I said, it's a SaaS model, which means subscription based. For our most big corporate clients, they pay $580 per month, right? And then we have the smaller ones that will be for smaller, medium companies or small brands that just want to do very basic monitoring of what their consumers are saying. So yes, you structure it nicely to make sure that you make the money that you need to make. Yeah.
An average member of the public could perhaps be thinking of a movie starring Will Smith called I, Robot, where AI went wild and attacked people. In the end, it was a mess. Is there any risk of this, especially when you hear somebody like Elon Musk saying that we think nukes are a problem? Nukes are not a problem. The real problem is AI or mismanaged AI. Is Elon Musk just scaring us, or these movies just scaring us? What are your views?
AI won't do anything that humans don't tell it to do, right? AI in its genesis, in its conception, always remember and know this, was made for the military, It wasn't something that was Nomsa was meant to be involved in. It was meant and made purely for military combat and strategy, right? So the AI, when a missile shot from one side of the world and it knows exactly where to go to Mogobe's office.
Smart bombs.
Exactly. It knows exactly where you're sitting. Same that happened with Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden. I'm not sure what the difference between those two is.
Terrorists.
Yes. They knew exactly where he was at the time he was, you know what I mean? I don't know if they use a flying missile there, but that, in the air where they're able to identify another jet and say, shoot that jet, that's AI. That's what it was built for.
Originally.
Right? Yes. And that is the perfect example of showing you that AI won't do anything it's not taught or trained to do. Right? So if human beings are the ones who are going to teach robots to take over the world and seek world domination, it'll come because human beings have trained and taught it that. Seipone AI is able to do what it does because we have trained it and taught it to do that. It has 96, well, I don't know where it's sitting right now.
So if it gets into the hands of a malevolent dictator, we have a problem.
Then we'll have a problem. But the fortunate thing is, I was in Namibia a couple of weeks ago at the AI conference for Southern Africa, and world leaders are for this region are very concerned with the ethics of AI, and UNESCO and the UN and the World Bank, all of these global institutions have guidelines about what counts as responsible AI. So there's controls in place, but AI will never take over the world unless someone taught it to take over the world.
So why does Elon Musk keep repeating it? He said it quite a few times.
Maybe he's planning it.
I hope not.
Maybe he's
He doesn't
planning
look like an evil guy.
Well, remember Putin was saying that there's threat of a war between Ukraine is threatening war on them, and he's the one who started the war.
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I don't think we're there yet. But if he's talking all with all the confidence in the world about it, maybe he knows something.
He says the world should guard against it. He says he's warning the world.
Yeah, maybe we should guard against his AI. Because Tesla.
Yeah.
The reason why Tesla can drive itself and do some of the things that it does is because of AI.
I'm told a lot of those vehicles had accidents when they tried them.
Yeah. So
you mean the driverless car?
The driverless car, and no, even Tesla's model, there's aspects of AI within it, right?
So who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't want to speculate. And I'm focused on
and we
solving
have to think
problems.
Positive anyway.
I think for me, AI matters insofar as it solves problems in our continent. AI is the thing that's going to have us deliver medication to our grandmothers in the village without them having to pahamambas to come here. AI is what's going to do diagnostics at poorly staffed clinics. AI is going to predict a lot of climate change. Even warfare. So I'm focused for my continent and how poor, and behind we are. I find it very weird sometimes that the West is always the first to tell us to slow down or guard down on things. That means we get left behind. So I don't know if AI is going to take over the world. If it does, I hope I'm not here to experience it. But for now, my concern and my passion for AI is in its ability to solve problems, especially in education, especially in healthcare, especially with product development and brand development and consumers.
Wow.
So let that happen when it happens.
Yeah. Let's talk about exit strategies, plans for exits. I don't know whether you want to talk about it in the context of an investor exiting or yourselves exiting particular areas of activity. Maybe you can just unpack that for us.
Yeah. So I had this perfect image in my head that I'd only be involved as a startup entrepreneur for 5 years. It hasn't been quite so, but I'm okay with that. I'm not disgruntled or anything. I'm very committed to the journey. I think for us with Seipone AI, our goal is to see it scale. Yes, obviously, but also know that there's ways that it can have more impact and achieve more value in the world if it was, say, acquired by like a Google. Right, and added to Google's business suite, right? Because Google has this business suite of things. Even the translate, like I'm saying, Google didn't develop it. They bought out another company that had developed the translation. Maybe even Facebook, because they have a very robust business suite that could probably do more for the world. We're not thinking about the world, right? We're thinking about languages in Cambodia, consumers in Mexico, consumers in Argentina, consumers in Thailand, where it can really now serve the world. Seipone can actually serve the world. Maybe it'll be called meta consumer. I don't know.
Who knows?
Or Google will add it somewhere into their suite and call it consumer watching. So my goal is really for Africa, and I think once my spirit and my mind and our deck of investors.
So are you
also
making yourselves attractive to potential suitors and acquirers?
Not now. We're not there yet. We need a stable product, and we need to onboard as many clients and really acquisition is a very different ball game, right? It's a world of its own that needs a lot of metrics to support that. Yes, we can acquire this thing. For now, our goal is to raise our capital. The market has been very, very bad for raising capital, for VC capital. We've gotten interest, but people say, can we just revisit this conversation in September, October, so we can see how the world is performing. So we're hoping to be able to leverage that now that our traction is looking a little bit better, to leverage that so that we can raise.
You prefer VC capital to angel investment?
No discrimination over it. It comes down to the terms and who's going to add more value for us, especially with our goals to scale. Botswana for us, I've always said, and I always will say, Botswana is a test market. This is not home. For this product.
You're yet to approach the likes of Angel Network Botswana then?
Yes, we are. I have had a chat with Maitri. I'm so scared of her. I'm so scared of her.
She's so cool.
I know, but I'm terrified of her.
You can go through me.
Yeah,
my friend.
Yeah, I'm so terrified of her. I just tremble. I think because she's a woman and I can see her power, and I'm just like, oh my God, she's so terrifying.
No, she's not. She's very sweet. Believe me. Yeah.
So the main concern has always just been traction. Just give us a little bit more traction, and then we can pick up the conversation. So I'm hoping that by November, which is really when things start to shut down, in this country, we can, revisit the conversation, especially now because we have the backing of CC Hub, and they're taking us through an acceleration that's very rigorous for tech startups in Africa. So, yeah.
Okay. What is the 10 to 15-year outlook in terms of what your crystal ball is telling you about Seipone AI or Sariti Insights?
With Sariti Insights, I'm not sure. I'm really flowing with divine inspiration there. I enjoy building solutions for companies, but there is that hurdle of people and red tape and all of that. And the business comes in a lot slower. The ticket sizes are nice, but the business is a lot slower compared to a scalable SaaS model like Seipone AI. So with Sariti Insights and those traditional operations, I'm really playing it by ear of spirit and how I feel. I think in the next 2-3 years, if someone offered to buy it, I would be open to that, but depending on how we feel as a team, I'd be open to that. We've built the foundation, we've built the brand, the reputation that we can build solutions. Maybe it'll just be better in someone else's hands, right?
Okay.
For Seipone AI, that excites me, gets me going because I see an Africa vision.
Yeah.
The problem with Sariti Insights is that there's many other companies in Africa that do what we do. So if we were to get the cojones to say we're going to South Africa, boy oh boy, we're going to run into all sorts of things.
Is that a point where I need to hear more about the plans for Sariti AI and Sariti Insights and Seipone AI?
Yeah. So Sariti, like I said, I'm more open to walking away from that one if the terms are favorable, and also if we know that the legacy of AI.
Because Sariti does strictly AI.
Yes, just
whereas
AI solutions.
Sariti Insights.
Seipone AI is the MarTech.
The MarTech means?
Marketing technology.
Yeah, company.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
So with our traditional consulting operations, I'm more open to letting them go into the right hands if we're sure and we can guarantee that they'll continue, the legacy of AI in Botswana, so that if we're not there, it doesn't fall and die. With Seipone AI, again, like I said, the goal is to scale to this continent and make sure that there's value being realized by marketers, brand builders, product developers from this one-of-a-kind technology. and to also just make sure that consumers are heard. You know, I foresee Seipone AI also be having an element of AI for good. It has a lot of benefit for researchers, for students, you know, who want to know, you know, data that's unfiltered. So there's an impact there that we need to tap into, that I think I'll still be with the company. And once we get funding, obviously the game changes. I'll be locked in a little bit longer, until exit maybe, and if I'm still feeling like this is where I need to be, despite dilution, despite, you know, different boards, you know, and everything like that.
Dilution can be quite heavy sometimes.
Exactly. So, but I am committed to Seipone AI for the long term.
Just for your comfort, with angel investors, us in particular, we always want a minority stake. We don't dilute to the point where we take over the board or anything like that.
Yeah. So that would be ideal, but we'll see. I am committed to Seipone AI, but also there's an element of me as a young woman. I want to get married. I want to have children. So it needs to make sense. You
can win on both sides.
Yes. No, I don't intend on giving up work to be a mother or a child, but I want all of them to be speaking to each other. Yeah, they all have to speak to each other. Especially if I have daughters, I need them to see that, you know, this girl, she can do it.
That's good. That's a very good way of looking at it. Time to ask me a question if you have one.
Yes, I do have a question. Would you invest in Seipone AI, and why? If yes, why? If no, don't tell me. I'm joking, you can tell me.
I would invest, but I'd like to know more. I've tended in the past to only want to invest in companies where I have some degree of competence, some degree of expertise that I can impact those companies with. But where it's a totally green field for me. I tend to hesitate, but I found a happy medium in the context of Angel Network Botswana, where we have up to 40, up to 50 now, 50 entrepreneurs who form part of Angel Network Botswana. That gives you a wider pool of experts to pick from. So, for instance, if it's something that's dense and that's heavy for me, I would have somebody like, Lerang, or somebody like Arun.
Yes, I met him.
Help me with a little bit of due diligence, and then maybe with the interpreting the pitch. And if I think that it makes sense, then, and there's been e-commerce areas and other things that I knew nothing about, where I've sort of dipped my toes and have invested, although I didn't know much about, because I had the confidence from my fellow angels in terms of, taking the risk. So the answer is yes, I would invest, but I would need to know far more, and I would need a lot of help from fellow angels before I do.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is the time now where we wrap our conversation up with you looking at that camera and sharing some parting words, hopefully words of motivation and inspiration with the viewer.
Okay. Who's your main viewer? Who's your core demographic?
I think we from what I checked, it's mainly 25 to 45 and mainly entrepreneurs. Or business persons, or aspiring business persons. All
right, that's important information. Because imagine if I started talking to teenagers. All right, when do I go?
Now.
Okay. Hi, and thank you so much for tuning into this program, and to any entrepreneurs out there, young people who are wondering if it's time to step up and step out and out of your comfort zone to do what it is that's in your heart. If it's in your heart, it's meant for you, go for it. And if you're in tech, there's no success unless you launch it. Launch that product. You'll learn in the market as you go what's best for you and what's best for your customers, and how you can modify your product or your service. And I wish all tech entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurs in Botswana, nothing but success. Just believe in yourself and step out.
Wow. Now, how do people interact with you? Where do they reach you? Social media and elsewhere? Share all your contacts, please.
On social media, you can reach us at LinkedIn, Seipone AI, Twitter, Seipone AI, Facebook, Seipone AI. Which other one is important? Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I think that's it. For me personally, on LinkedIn, I am Nomsa Makgabenyana. On Twitter, I am it's Nomsa, as in it's Nomsa, surprise. So OHITSNOMSA. And I don't use Instagram. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful guest. You've done a good job. Yeah.
Thanks.